I think one of the other things that was surprising, I suppose, that came out of the survey was that only 48% of people are aware it can cause significant personality changes. And I wonder whether you feel those personality changes are really fully understood, and how we could explain that differently to people.
I think that actually links back to the stigmas that are still around with dementia, that if you live with dementia, you are going to behave in a certain way. And that's not always the case. And very often it's not the case. And actually that different parts of somebody's personality may come out stronger. And it's about the more that we know, we can support those changes in behaviour if we have more information and know we know the person that we're supporting.
Julie, would you like to tell us a little bit about your mum and your experience of dementia?
Yes, my mum was a very busy lady. She ran her own business with my father for 40 odd years before she retired. She started behaving a little bit strangely. We noticed things about her. She used to ring up and say, the washing machine isn't working, can you come round? And we'd go round and she'd forgotten how to use it. And I think the beginning she said she was frightened of the kitchen. She couldn't work her way around her kitchen anymore, was forgetting where things were. So we ended up getting meals in, or I used to cook meals and take them round as well. And then there were little signs. She used to say, would you like a cup of tea? She always said, would you like a cup of tea? And then she used to make half a cup. And I'd say, Mum, why, what are you doing? What's going on? Why are you just making half a cup of tea? And she'd say, oh, because she wasn't aware that she was doing these things. And there's like signs like that, which weren't too bad in the beginning. And then she'd say to my dad, oh, look at him, he's just sitting there all day. What good is he? He does nothing, he doesn't even make a cup of tea. And I'd say, well, we'd say, Mum, Dad can't actually walk. So she'd say, oh, yes, okay. And then she'd be sitting in a chair and there was like a mark on the carpet, tiny little mark. And she'd say, get that up, Gil. What are you doing just sitting there? And just like behaviour changes like that. With my mum and dad adored each other, and she started getting so annoyed with him all the time, and said it was like those signs in the beginning. Yeah. And using the phone, she had a job with a phone, and just those were the beginnings really of her dementia that we'd noticed.
I can hear how difficult that was for you. Yes. Thank you so much for that. Perhaps we can have a quick chat with Anita.
Yes.
So Anita, would you like to just give us a little bit of an indication of how you have become more aware of people living with dementia?
Well, Mum has Alzheimer's. And she's also blind, and she's had bowel cancer. So she's had a complete perfect storm of illnesses. And we were amazed at how she's actually coped with the Alzheimer's. I mean, she's now 8 years into the diagnosis and very advanced. Mum is a traditional homemaker, large family, many different jobs. She even ran at one point sheltered housing. So she really understood older people. My father also had dementia, and she nursed him through that. So with Mum, it was a little different because she realised that something was changing in her and actually asked if we could work together to look at her situation and get her a diagnosis. So a bit different, but very distressing to watch.
Mm-hmm. And just again, thinking about this, did you notice any changes in personality as such?
Yes, Mum was a very measured, calm person with a quiet voice. And then, she started to become paranoid. She'd shout, she'd get very angry. Occasionally she would hit out. If she was really frustrated, it was pure frustration. I remember once she went in the garden, said, I'm leaving, and threw her stick at me. I mean, you look back on it now and it's funny, but at the time it was terrifying. You just didn't know how to deal with it. And we had 2 carers and a living carer, and we still weren't doing enough to help her. So yes, she had some extreme swings, and what helped was working with the mental health team and the doctors and getting her medication right, because there is real help with medication now, both in terms of mood and also in terms of the Alzheimer's, and then not accepting, well, that's just the way it is. So if mum was having a reaction and she'd got a new medication, we'd challenge the medication rather than saying, well, you know, it's Alzheimer's, what are you going to do? We managed with her to get her back to a much more calm place by doing that. So always watch the medication.